Today it is the sixth lecture of the chapter Principles of Inheritance and Variation. Who is going to tell me today what we learned in last lecture? Yesterday what we studied? Yes, Dish. It is getting set as a trend that every day Dish is speaking about what we learned last time. Yes, Dish, bolo.
Ma'am, yesterday we have seen chromosomal theory of inheritance and sex determination. In sex determination, we have discussed two parts. Means we have to discuss in two parts: environmental and second is chromosome.
We basically discussed a lot about chromosomal theory of inheritance. We also learned yesterday one thing that you missed, Dish, that is about linkage mapping. How we can use the value of recombination frequency to map the genes present in chromosome. Is that part clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so today we will start our lecture with a very interesting part, that is sex determination by genetic means. Yesterday when I was talking about the process of sex determination, I told you that sex determination can be done by environmental factors. For example, I give you example of this tortoise, and then reptiles. We had a discussion about the story of Jurassic Park. And apart from that, we discussed a lot about the Bornelian. Now, all these factors are based on environment. Let me discuss here something which may not be part of your syllabus, but you should know. The sex determination process of plant is complex than the animal, and still no specific chromosome which presence or absence of which is responsible for sex determination is plant. Nothing as such is discovered. So today we are going to discuss about the genetic means of sex determination. So what do we mean by genetic means of sex determination? Actually, here the presence or absence of chromosome decides that if organism will be male or female. Now, this genetic ways of sex determination can be classified into two types. These are, one of them is a situation where the males are heterogametic. Second is the situation where females heterogametic. And the third process is known as haplodiploidy. Okay, about haplodiploidy we discussed earlier. Today we will brush up our concept. So male heterogametic. Heterogametic is a sum total of two words. One is hetero and other is gametic. Can anyone tell me from this name what idea you are having about this concept? Female, male, heterogametic means what? What do we mean by this? Anyone, any idea? Am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Hetero means what? And gametic to means what do you can you predict what does it mean? Male heterogametic.
Ma'am, hetero
Ma'am,
means different.
Yes, very good. So what do we mean by this word male heterogametic? That means it means that male organisms produce two types of gamete. Okay, so it means that male organisms are responsible for production of two different types of gametes. So male produce different types of gamete. Females are homogametic. It's exactly opposite here. Here, females produce different types of gamete and males are homogametic. So basically we can say in this first situation, males are responsible for determination of sex because no much option is available from the side of female. Let's see with an example. This male homogametic organisms can be further subdivided into two types. These are called X0 system and XY system. Means what? What does it mean? It means that in this type of organisms, the male has only one X chromosome, that is X. So what does it mean by 0? 0 means no chromosome. Okay. So what are the gametes produced by male? Gametes, at the time of production of gametes, male will produce one gamete with X, other gamete with 0 means nothing. Whereas in case of females, it is X, X. That means while females can produce gametes, gametes has only one option, that is X. So let me draw the diagram so that you can understand. X0 cross with X, X. This will be male. This will be female. So it will produce two types of gamete. One is X, other 0. And here it is only one type possible X. So if these two fuse, it will produce female. And if this two produce, it will produce male. Is this concept clear to everyone? That means it means that if female consider in a case, the female is having 20 chromosomes. Male will have how many chromosomes? 90. Because female has XX and male has X0, means one chromosome is lacking. Is this part clear to everyone? Any doubts? The next one is very easy. You can understand it is very easily. It is observed. Okay. This one is observed in case of this specific type of sex determination is quite prominently observed in case of grasshopper. And there is Dioscorea. Okay. Now let us talk about the second type. In this case, the male will be having XY chromosome. So gametes produced by male have two options. Either it can have X or it can have Y. Whereas females are having chromosome number XX. So gametes will have only one option. All gametes will carry X only. So what is the cross? If it is XY cross XX, this is male, this is female. Now, in this case, two types of gametes, X and Y. In this case, only one type of gamete, that is X. If X is fusing with X, this will be female. And if X is fusing with Y, this will be male. Is it clear to everyone? I don't think here we need to wait and see, because too many times we discussed it. Just let me talk about the examples. Here the examples are human. Human have such kind of sex determination. Even Drosophila. We talked about Drosophila melanogaster is having such kind of sex determination. So here the males are responsible basically for sex determination, because from the side of female there is not much option available. Now let's see if females are heterogametic. Means Shama, we will have heart attack, beta. So in this case, one option is ZW, ZZ. Let me write here full. And so here in this specific case, what happens is here males are having chromosome that is ZZ. So obviously when they are producing gametes, they will produce only one type of gamete, that is Z. Whereas for a change here, females, as they are heterogametic, they will have Z0. So types of gametes that is possible to produce is Z and 0. So once again I lied that 0 means no chromosome. So let us have a cross. So it will be male, this will be female, Z, Z and 0, Z, Z. So ZZ means it will be male. And if this Z is fusing with this will be female. This type of sex determination is quite prominently visible in case of butterflies and moths. I hope you know what is moth. Next is ZWZZ. Here also the males are having ZZ. Gametes produced by them is only Z type. Females ZW. Gametes produced by them is Z and W. So this is male, this is female. It's Z. Z and W, two options are available. This type of sex determination is observed in case of birds. Generally, birds are having this type of sex determination. Okay. Is there any doubts regarding any one of these sex determination methodologies? Take 1 minute, have a look and let me know. Anyone, any doubt? Yes, no, I want to hear from you, beta.
No doubt, ma'am.
Okay, it is observed in the class that some students are joining late. Kindly make sure you join on time. It will be helpful for you only because if you are joining between, it is difficult for you to understand. Anyways, haplodiploidy is a sex determination process that is present in case of honeybee. And we discussed already this, but once again, I am going to talk about it. Basically, in this specific case, what happens is the females consider have 32 number of chromosomes and males will have 16 number of chromosomes. So this is our P generation, that is parental generation. Now what happens is different types of cell division occur in case of females and males. If you look into females, the type of cell division that takes place is meiosis. Whereas in case of males, the type of sex determination that takes place is mitosis. We know that in case of meiosis, there is reduction division. So the gametes produced here in this case will have 16 chromosomes Whereas in case of males, it is having 16 chromosome only. So these are gametes. Now, two options are available. If these two fuse, that means there is process of fertilization. In that case, in that very specific case, there will be 32 number chromosome. So, and it will be a female. But if this remain unfertilized, then these unfertilized eggs will give rise to male. So why we call it haplodiploidy? Because here it is diploid and here it is haploid. And similarly, the female will be diploid and male will be haploid. So ploidy level will decide, that is, number of chromosome here will decide that if it is going to be male or if it is going to be female. That's why this specific type of sex determination is known as haplodiploidy. So, as I assume that everyone is able to understand the concept of sex determination. Now, the next topic that we are going to discuss is the concept of sex linked disorders. So, what are they? We need to talk about sex-linked disorders. We can also mention it in terms of sex-linked inheritance. Generally, सबसे ज़्यादा नीट में क्वेश्चन आता है sex-linked disorders के बारे में. But let's not talk always about disorders. We will talk about the sex-linked inheritance. So what do we mean by sex-linked inheritance? Here also the person who took a pioneer role in discovery of sex-linked inheritance was named as Morgan. So Morgan, while he was working on Drosophila, discovered that eye color in Drosophila is a sex-linked character. So what do we mean by the word sex-linked character? Sex-linked character means the character which is the gene of which is present in the sex chromosome. See, while I was teaching you the sex determination in human being during the chapter, like when we were discussing about the chapter number 3, that is human reproduction, I told you that chromosomes present in human can be subdivided into two types. One we call autosome and other is called sex chromosome. So what is autosome class? Autosome क्या करता है? What do we mean by autosome? For example, in case of human being, 2n equal to 46 है. यहाँ पे 44 chromosomes are autosomes and 2 chromosomes are sex chromosomes. So what does autosome do? What is the function of autosome? Class, come up with your answer. No one. Autosome and sex chromosome. Yes, Dish. Bolo.
Ma'am, in autosome, it should be a 22 pairs of chromosome and one pair will be different.
That too I understand, Dish. But my question is, के autosomes को autosomes क्यों बोलते हैं? Why we call them autosome? Yes, Yesha.
Ma'am, autosome controls other characters which are not sex linked.
Great. So, for example, we can mention here that autosomes are responsible to control other characters. For example, what should be the height of human being, then the color of eye, color of hair, complexion, the what I can say, texture of hair, and then thousand other properties are controlled by autosome. And sex chromosomes are mainly responsible for determination of sex. But obviously, one whole chromosomes and two whole chromosomes in a diploid organisms cannot be dedicated only for sex determination. Some characters are linked with the sex chromosome. Those characters are called sex-linked characters. So, what do we mean by sex-linked inheritance? We can write down that sex-linked inheritance definition comes up like this, that transmission of characters whose genes are located in sex chromosome. Now there will be a very funny incident here. If any character is, gene of that character is located in the sex chromosome, wherever that character will go, obviously that chromosome will need to go there. For example, consider one male is having X and Y. If any character is present in the Y chromosome, that character will never be expressed in any of the female offspring of that father. Are you understanding why? समझो, पापा के पास एक Y linked कैरेक्टर है. अब जब ये किसी में एक्सप्रेस होगा, whenever it is going to be expressed, at that time obviously it will be expressed only in male child, that is जिनके पास ये Y chromosome होगा. फीमेल्स को कभी भी फादर Y क्रोमोसोम देने ही नहीं वाला है, इसलिए फीमेल्स में वो कैरेक्टर कभी एक्सप्रेस होगा ही नहीं. So that is why, as these characters are linked with specific sex chromosome, that's why we call them as sex-linked inheritance. Okay, so is this part clear? So I am completing this definition further by adding one line, that transmission of character whose genes are located in sex chromosome, and we call these characters sex-linked because it is always associated with particular sex chromosome. Okay, now let us talk about some sex-linked character. So why, what is sex-linked inheritance? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Class?
Yes,
No
ma'am.
problem. If you have any difficulty in understanding, let me know, I can explain. So now I will give you an example of sex-linked inheritance in Drosophila. Is the screen visible, beta? All of you, please confirm.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So you can see that sex-linked with character inheritance in Drosophila is associated with the red eye color. So in case of normal X chromosome, red eye color will be inherited by the Drosophila. Why? Because you can see here in this case both the genes are capital R, capital R. Okay. Now the second option is white-eyed mutation. I told you when I was describing you the reason of dominance that generally the unmutated cells are the wild type. They are the original one. Due to mutation, the variation is created. So this is about the white-eyed mutation. Here, one chromosome, the X chromosome of this Drosophila. Acha, who is going to tell me what type of sex determination Drosophila is having? I told you, no, Drosophila is having sex determination just like us, that is XXXY. So in their case, in case of males, the X chromosome is actually it is actually having minus Y gene. R gene is absent in them, and Y chromosome is anyways inactive. So in this checkerboard, you can see that males can produce two types of sperm, that is this one with Y and another is inactive Y chromosome, and in case of females, it is producing both the gametes with same chromosome, that is both of them are having red eye color. Okay. So what happens here is all organisms will have red eye color. Why? Because R is dominant over W. So wherever RW is coming, it will generally it will obviously have red color. And even if Y chromosome as it is inactive, its present doesn't make any difference in the eye color of Drosophila. So if Y chromosome is present and if it is a male member, then also it will have a red eye color, because here absence of W is making it possible to have the red eye color. This part is clear to everyone? Let me know, then I will proceed. ये वाला जो हिस्सा है, this part clear to everyone? सोच लो, देख लो, take your time. I am not at all in a hurry. Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we are going to look into the next part, that is actually called the other one. Here the WW is what? WW means both of them are white eye color. And male is having R. In this case, the female is actually WW, that is white eye color, and the male is having R. In this case also, you can see that the eye color is associated with the X chromosome, and obviously in this case, the males will be always white eye colored, and females will be always red eye colored. Why? Because in this case, the gametes will have In case of male, two types of gametes will be produced. One will have red, other will have no gene. So it is inactive, we will consider in this case. And eggs will have white. So once they combine. So this is how you can see that the sex is playing a very, very important role in deciding the specific character of Drosophila. Is it clear or you require some more inputs in this? Class? So I'm resuming the recording. Have a look into the video. It will clarify the Thomas and Morgan's work on fruit fly to you more clearly.
Covered at the turn of the century, and Boveri and Sutton independently had proposed the chromosome theory, that the chromosomes were the location for where these inheritable factors that Mendel first talked about, where they actually were located. But we talked about in that video that was just a theory. This was based on some observations of meiosis and seeing how chromosomes behaved, and they seemed to behave in analogous ways to some of these inheritable factors, but they really didn't have good cellular proof that chromosomes indeed were the location for these inheritable factors. And we don't really start to get that until we start looking at the work of Thomas Hunt Morgan. Now, in 1908, he decides to study fruit flies. So why does he want to study fruit flies? Have you ever seen a fruit fly? They're very, very, very small. So you could actually put a ton of fruit flies in one jar. So that's convenient. We oftentimes don't think about the practical logistics of science, but you could put a lot in one jar. They were actually cheap, and that's another practical concern of science, is you don't always have a lot of resources to do your work. And they had short lives and they reproduced a lot. So you could very quickly get many, many offspring and many, many generations if you wanted to study how the different traits were passed on or not passed on. And so he spent some time, he started this in 1908, working with the fruit flies. And he kept breeding them in search for some type of a mutant trait. In general, when you look at traits in a species, the wild type, write this down, the wild type is the one that's typically seen, while the mutant trait is something that seems unusual. And after 2 years, he finally discovers a mutant trait in his fruit flies. He finds a white-eyed male. This is the white-eyed male right over here. He says, oh, okay, now this is interesting. Let me take this white-eyed male and begin to cross it with the females. And you say, well, how does this actually occur? Well, what you do is you take a jar full of females and you put the white-eyed male in there, and then the crossing happens. And what was interesting was the inheritance pattern that he saw for this white-eyed trait, because you have the parent generation here, but then in the F1 generation, all of the females were red-eyed and all of the males were red-eyed. And so just off of that first generation, it wasn't clear that anything interesting was going on. But then when he crossed these to each other, and I know what some of y'all are thinking, wait, aren't they all brothers and sisters being crossed to each other? Oh, well, yeah, they're probably half brothers and sisters if they came from different mothers, but some of them could have been brothers and sisters. But yes, that's what people are talking about when they're crossing the F1 generation. But when they crossed these with each other, he saw a pretty interesting pattern. He saw a 3-to-1 ratio of red eyes to white eyes. So for every 4 fruit flies, he would see 3 red-eyed, and he would see 1 white-eyed. So the white-eyed trait makes a reappearance, which in and of itself is interesting. It shows that this can be passed on genetically, and that's interesting because this was a mutant that just showed up after he did many generations of observations. But what was even more interesting about this 3-to-1 ratio, and that 3-to-1 is something that popped up a lot in Mendelian genetics. What was even more interesting was that he only observed the white eyes in the males in this F2 generation, in this the second generation of the crosses right over there. And so you're thinking, well, why is that a big deal? Well, he was a pretty astute guy, and he says, well, look, if I'm only seeing it in the males, and it's not like he only got 4 offspring in the ratio, he might have had hundreds of them. but it was in the ratio of 2 red-eyed females for every 1 red-eyed male for every 1 white-eyed. And so across these hundreds of in this generation, he only observed the white eyes on the males. And he said, maybe this is in some way related to the chromosome that determines sex. And so what he was able to do is say, well, let's just assume that it is. Let's assume that that trait, that mutant allele, that mutant variation of the gene for eye color, let's assume it's carried on the X chromosome. And so the genotype for that first mutant fly, that white-eyed male that he found, we could call it, and this is the notation that people typically use, because this is a gene that we're assuming sits on it's sex-linked, it sits on a sex chromosome, in this case the X chromosome. The way that you would specify the genotype of that white-eyed male is, well, on his X chromosome, he had the white variation, he had the white allele, white variation of that gene, and then on his Y chromosome, he had no variation for that gene. So we assume that it's only contained on the X chromosome. You've probably heard of heterozygous or homozygous. Well, this is a case where you're hemizygous. You only have a version of the allele on one of your 2 chromosomes, one of the 2 that you've gotten from each of your parents. So this would be the genotype right here of the white-eyed male. The genotype for the red-eyed female is specified by, so it's on the X chromosome, and the females have 2 X chromosomes, just like in the situation for humans. So on each of the X chromosomes, we assume that the females start off with the red allele. And the red allele, the notation is W plus. W plus. And you might say, well, why don't we just use the letter R? Well, we could have, but the general convention in genetics is to use the letter of the first mutant type discovered for that gene, and then to use this little plus type for the wild type. So the wild type is the red eyes, and then W, which is the first mutant discovered for this gene, is the first mutant allele, that we do, so we name it after that white. So this is the white allele, and these right here, these represent the red alleles. So these are the genotype of the red-eyed female. And so when you cross that first generation, well, the white-eyed male, he can either, if he's he'll either produce sperm that have the X chromosome in it, which is going to contain the allele, or sperm that have the Y chromosome in it, which is not going to contain the allele. And the red-eyed female, well, they produce eggs either way, either which of these X chromosomes they contribute, they're both going to have the wild-type allele. And we can see how this crosses. You could get an X from both parents. If you get an X from both parents, you're going to be female because you're going to be XX. And each of these females, since you got one wild type and one mutant type, and the wild type turns out to be dominant, they still show their phenotype is still red eyes. They still have red eyes, but now they are heterozygous. They're heterozygotes. They are carrying the white allele. Now the male offspring right over here, well, in order to be male, they got the Y chromosome from their dad. So they're not able to get that white allele, and they get the wild type from their mom. You can see here, this is why all of the males in that first generation were red. They only got one copy of the allele from their wild type mother. But then what was interesting is with the crosses that you see in that next generation. If you took these red-eyed females that we already established, these are all going to be heterozygotes, and so you can see they have the red allele and they have the white allele. And you cross that with red-eyed males. You cross it with red-eyed males. What is going to happen? Well, the females in this generation, in order to be female, you have to get an X from your mom and your dad. And so they get an X from their dad, which has the wild type there, the dominant red allele. And so regardless of which one they got from their mom, they're still going to be red-eyed females. Some of them might be homozygotes, some of them might be heterozygous. But now we see something interesting happening in the males. You could have heterozygote male flies here, where they got the X where they got the red X from their mom, or you could get the hemizygous white-eyed males, where they got the white allele, the white X from their mom. And this is the exact this is the exact observation that Morgan made. So it was a very interesting thing that he was able to see. He started breeding these in 1908. He started breeding these flies in 1908. It wasn't until a couple of years that he finally found that first mutant white-eyed male, and it was in 1910 and 1911 that he publishes these discoveries in Nature. And the reason why this is a big deal is he says, look, this is my observations are completely consistent with this eye trait, this gene being on the X chromosome. So he was able to show a direct linkage between, in this case, sex chromosomes and these heritable factors that Mendel first talked about. And he would go on, and his students that he worked with would go on to study this for many years. And he actually ends up getting a Nobel Prize for this work. And this is a big deal because he's finally able to draw pretty substantive connections between these heritable factors of Mendel, this theory of Bovary and Sutton, that maybe chromosomes have something to do with these heritable factors. And he's showing that this is actually the case. These sex chromosomes seem to carry the trait, or in this particular case, the X sex chromosome seems to carry the gene for eye color in these fruit flies.
So can we do some sums now on this? If your concept is clear, if I consider it is clear. I explained it by myself. I explained by showing video. Now, if you are saying that it is clear, can we have some mathematical problems related to it? Class, are you there? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
So can we have some mathematical problems related to it? So that your concept can be further clarified. That's why I'm saying.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So let's discuss a few situations I'm giving to you. You do it by yourself. And wherever you are stucking, let me do it. So the first situation is a case where organism is having W plus and W plus, that is RR, and the other organism is having W minus and Y. So if this is female and if this is female and if this is male, can you predict what will be the genotype in F1 and F2 generation? This is our P1. So this is P1. If this is male and if this is female, what will be the genotype at F1 and F2? Bolo. Can I expect all of you to start doing it? Abhi understood how to do beta? You want me to do one so that you can be well acquainted with the method?
Yes, ma'am.
एक करके चलो. That is what I was also thinking. So while formation of gamete, I am not drawing chromosomes here. So I am going to write them only because it will be time consuming. Here two options are available, isn't it? And in this case, we will have W minus and other one will be Y. Okay. So let's make a checkerboard here. Or rather to say, in first generation, we will actually not be requiring any checkerboard. We can do it directly. Because in first generation, from this only one type of gamete is possible. So this will be W plus and W minus. And this will be W plus and Y. So what do you think the phenotype of this fruit fly will be? It will have red eye, isn't it? So it will be red eye what? It will be red eye female. And this one will be red eye male. Clear? Up to this part, is it clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is our F1 progeny. Now we are going to cross our F1 progenes. So this is my female and this is the male. So at the time of formation of gamete, what will happen? Here in this case, two options will be available. One is W and other is minus W. We need to remember that this is red eye and minus W if it is present in homozygous condition or in presence of Y chromosome, then only it will be expressed. Because minus Y, as it is the mutant type, as the minus Y is a mutant type, it can be expressed only and only if it is present either in homozygous condition, that means अगर वो W minus हुआ तब express होगा, or it can be expressed if it is having W minus Y. Otherwise, it will be never expressed in heterozygous condition in presence of W plus. Now, in this case, also two types of gametes are possible. That is W plus and another is Y. So let us plot a checkerboard here in case of to find out the F2 generation structure. Be very careful while writing the gametes. Closely watch if you are writing about male or female. So in case of female, it will be W plus and W minus. And in case of male, it will be W plus and Y. Now the thing that will happen is this will be W plus, this will be W plus Y, this will be W plus, W minus and W minus Y. So what we want to point out here is, in this case, in the F1 generation, there was no organism with white eye. So here this one will have white and it will be male. This one will have red eyes and it will be male. This will be red eye and female. And this one will also have red eye and it will be female. So that means what? Expression of minus W is not dependent only on presence of plus W. In this case, if you look into closely these two cases, the case number 1 here, in this case, Minus W, if it is associated with plus W, it cannot express because plus W is dominant. But when minus W is present with Y, it can be expressed. That means presence or absence of Y chromosome matters. That's why this type of inheritance where presence and absence of Y chromosome matters is known as the sex-linked inheritance. Is it clear to everyone? Clear this part? Class?
Yes, ma'am.
So now I want you people to do one thing. Okay, here I am not writing here. I am writing just the details that you have a red-eyed hybrid female. Look into the statement and then plot the graph and do. Is crossed with white-eyed male. What will be the, my question will remain same. Okay, in this case, you do, let us talk about F1. What will be the F1 generation? If this is P1 generation, what will be the F1 generation? Try and find out by yourself. No problem if you cannot, but you need to tell me, I will do, no problem. Try. हो जाएगा क्या लग रहा है दीश नक्षत्र कर पाओगे बेटा मिश्का जिया येशा प्रियांशी हो जाएगा
मैम होने आया.
हाँ very easy once you understand the concept. So let me do side by side. अगर वो रेड वाइट हाइब्रिड फीमेल हुआ दैट मीन्स इट विल बी W प्लस W माइनस और अगर वो व्हाइट आई मेल हुआ दैट मीन्स इट विल बी W माइनस Y. So the types of gametes possible in this case is W plus and W minus, and in this case it is W minus and Y. So let us draw the checkerboard. So in case of male, obviously it will be W minus and Y, W plus, W minus. So it will be W plus W minus, W plus Y, W minus W minus, and W minus Y. So this will be red-eyed female. This will be red-eyed male. This will be white-eyed female. And this will be white-eyed male. Am I correct, Yesha? Have you completed, beta?
Yes, ma'am.
So others can check from here. This will be the F1 generation. So today we discussed a lot. Next day we will be able to see many of the examples of sex-linked disorders and sex-linked inheritance too. Okay, those are present in human being, and they are really very important. And trust me, in genetics, question related to sex-linked inheritance is almost must. Okay, so do not try and skip. Try to be attentive enough and learn the procedure. Okay, chalo, I will say bye for today. Is there any doubt, anyone?
Ma'am, I had a question.
Yes, Yasha. It will be
Ma'am,
my
I have
pleasure.
observed,
Bolo.
ma'am, I have observed that our eye color changes, I mean, by the time.
Eye color changes by the time. Yes, it's true. Actually, not eye color. You need to say the color of our eye. What I can say, the eyeball, inside eyeball, there is like a small black colored substance that change. Actually, black color of that is due to presence of a pigment in the layer called choroid layer. If you studied about the structure of eye in grade 11, I think that part was omitted from the syllabus. That's why you don't know. In our eye, if you take a cross section of eye, there is a layer which is called choroid layer. And that choroid layer is full of black colored pigment. Why that layer is required? The way during photography or image formation, we require a dark background, which will create the contrast for the image formation. This choroid layer acts as a background for the image formation in our eye. As we age, the intensity of choroid layer decrease. That's why it change. But don't feel like if a person is having black eye color, suddenly by age it will be converted into blue or green. The shade
No,
will change.
ma'am.
Shade will
Black में
definitely
से
change.
मतलब हाँ से थोड़ा
Shade,
ग्रे और ऐसा होता है.
shade will change. Shade changes due to deterioration of pigment in that layer. And sometimes you know about cataract.
Yes, ma'am.
The lens present in eye is getting a hazy covering because the lens present in our eye is made up of proteinaceous substance. So due to that also the shade of color change.
Yes, ma'am.
Good question, Yesha. No question from any other. I don't know. You people don't think about. Take five minutes at least in the subject, like for each 5 to 10 minutes in each subject, and think creative. Trust me, once you take interest in the subject, it will be a lot more helpful for you to understand it. You will not know, मतलब आपकी इंटरेस्ट आ जाएगी उसमें और आप जानोगे भी नहीं कब आपने इतना सारा पढ़ लिया. Anyways, depends on person to person. Some person may Google up and ask to Google Baba, but I expect more questions. Anyone, anything else you want to ask?